So over the past few weeks, Virgin Galactic stock has absolutely crapped its pants, with people like Chamath Palihapitiya, and yes, I probably pronounced that wrong, but he sold his shares in Virgin Galactic, and now the founder of Virgin himself, Richard Branson, has sold $150 million worth of stock. It's always very concerning when insiders are selling, especially big name insiders like Branson and Palihapitiya. But the big question begs, is Virgin Galactic now a good value buy, or should you sell everything you have in there and run for the hills? Well, as always with all of these hype stocks, there's a lot more to this picture, so let's have a little dive inside Virgin Galactic stock. So before we do a nosedive like Virgin Galactic stock, please bear in mind this is not financial advice. This is a guy with a beard on the internet talking about his personal opinions, so it does not constitutionalize as financial advice. If you are new here and interested in finance and stocks, please do consider subscribing and turning on the bell. If we get 200 likes, I will shave off my beard. There's no chance of that happening. But please do me the kindest of kind favors by making sure that like button is turned blue. It would massively help me out. A lot of time and effort goes into these videos, so just do your part. Make sure that like button is blue. If you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon link down in the description where you can get some exclusive perks, including our WhatsApp group. I think there's 2 spaces available. And if you have not done so already, you can sign up on eTORO on the pinned comment. Sign up, deposit, make one simple trade, and you get free lifetime access to the LWT investing chat room, which is currently priced at around about $15 a month. Now coming on to Virgin Galactic stock, it's been a couple of rough weeks and a couple of bad months. We only have to go back to February to see that this stock was currently trading at $62 at its all-time highs, and we're currently down around about 60%, riding at $23 a share. So pun intended, it's definitely been a bumpy ride for Virgin Galactic stock. But is it now time to buy the dip? Or should you just wait and see if it reaches $10 a share? Well, looking on Simply Wall Street, Simply Wall Street's algorithm actually values it at 33% undervalued. Now, to be clear, Simply Wall Street is right as much as it is wrong, so please do bear in mind that you should not make any investment decision just based on that alone. Now, of course, Virgin is not profitable, so there is no PE or PEG ratio, and if we come down to the assets, I was actually slightly surprised. I was expecting the liabilities to outweigh the assets on this one, and I was actually quite shocked. Short-term assets, they have $727 million in assets, with $115 million in liabilities. So short term, they're definitely covered for the next couple of quarters. Now, if we go into the long-term assets and liabilities, we can see that they have $76 million in assets with a $26 million in liabilities. But with this information, please bear in mind that Virgin Galactic stock is burning cash fast. It's at the R&D and development stage, and it's definitely going to be using up some of these, assets, especially in liquid cash form. Now, when checking sort of the fundamentals and the analysis on Simply Wall Street, the biggest concern or the biggest indicator for me is insider buying and selling. If you see somebody from, high up in the company buying a lot of stock, it could mean they know something we don't, and it's probably a good indicator. But if you see people like Chamath and Richard Branson himself selling shares, it definitely doesn't bode well for the company. But I think there's more to the picture, and I think Chamath and Richard Branson were selling for logical reasons. But let's have a little look at the pros and cons for buying Virgin Galactic stock right now in the low 20s. Let's start with cons and the big elephant in the room. The insider selling. It's been in the news lately. We've seen Richard Branson selling $150 million, and we've seen Chamath Palihapitiya, and again, yes, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, sell his total personal stake in this company. If you don't know who Chamath is, then Google is your friend, but he's definitely someone worth listening to when it comes to investing. And it's probably worth knowing there that Chamath is actually chairman of Virgin Galactic stock. Now, typically when we see this insider selling we've seen with companies like Nikola, it's just not a good sign, especially in companies that are at the development stage of the process, because it could be an indicator that there's a lot of hurdles in the way and they're sort of cashing out. Now, obviously, when insiders do sell in big amounts, especially their whole position, it's never a good sign, especially on developing companies. Think about it this way. When you're a developing company and you're spending a lot of cash, you know what hurdles are coming. you know that if, there's, for example, a failed test flight or there's going to be a delay, and that's not going to positively affect the share price. So insiders could be cashing out because they can see what's coming ahead. Now that said, with Chamath and Richard Branson, I think it's slightly different because Chamath actually still has some exposure to Virgin Galactic through a alternative means, and in Richard Branson's case, he actually just cashed out some of his position to go and help his other businesses, mainly in the tourism, the hotels, and travel, which have been hit very, very hard lately, and they definitely need some cash so that they can invest when people do start traveling again, which seems to be more closer than some think. So for me, that makes sense that Richard Branson took some equity from one company to go and help out another company. So I don't think it's a case of Richard Branson selling because he thinks this company's gonna fail. And it's probably worth noting there that they are still the biggest shareholder with a 24% stake. So in my opinion, if they were looking to cash out because the company's failing, this selling would be a lot more than what they sold. So yes, it looks bad that there is a lot of insider selling, but I think there again is more to that picture, and I think people are sort of just reading the title headline than understanding the full story there. Now, another con to buying Virgin Galactic stock is the cash burnout. This company, like I said, is in the development stage and they are burning cash fast. It's definitely not cheap to get something into space, and then you throw in the tourism factor and the fact that it's not operational yet, then this company's still throwing money at the situation, trying to get their first few customers in space. Now, because they are in the development stage and burning through cash fast, this typically means dilution is coming. In fact, Virgin Galactic stock have a roughly $1 billion ready to go as dilution at any time. Now, dilution is never a good thing, and if you don't know what that is, let me know down in the comments. I can do a full video on it. But basically, it's where a company files some shares that they can sell at market. So for example, if Virgin Galactic now sold 1 million shares at $20, then they'd be making $20 million in revenue, which can help keep the company afloat, or they can invest that into new projects. Dilution probably will come with this company, so it's definitely worth noting. But if you're holding for the very, very long term on Virgin and you believe in the company itself, then I don't think dilution should bother you too much because, again, it's going to be a bumpy ride short term, but long term, well, it should go to the moon. Yes, pun intended. Now, the third biggest con, in my opinion, and I think this is massively overlooked, is competition coming into the marketplace. We've seen Jeff Bezos start a company called Blue Origin, and they're looking into space travel. In fact, they are doing space travel. They're doing pretty much the similar thing to Virgin Galactic stock, to my knowledge, and of course Elon Musk's SpaceX. So if we look at these two companies, which are headed by two of the greatest innovators of our time, arguably even of all time, then, there's no doubt that SpaceX has some issues. Now, Richard Branson, of course, is a great innovator. I mean, he's a billionaire. You don't just get there overnight. I mean, he started selling records and now he's putting people in space. But I think with Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin directly competing with Virgin Galactic and the fact that they're not listed, I think people just don't have an option. I think if Blue Origin was listed, people would probably prefer that company, to be honest. And on that as well, I think it's a matter of time before SpaceX starts taking a similar route once they see the business model works and people will pay money to travel to space. I mean, why wouldn't SpaceX go that route? It's a good way of generating revenue. So of course the future looks very, very bleak for Virgin Galactic stock, but I'm not convinced, and I'll tell you why. Looking at the pros on why you should buy Virgin Galactic stock at its current price, the first one really is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Cathie Wood. ARK Invest, one of the most popular ETFs of all time, and recently probably one of the biggest cult heroes in investing. Cathie Wood is very, very bullish on Virgin Galactic stock. ARK Invest is seriously increasing its share count into Virgin Galactic stock, and you can clearly see that it's buying the dip on SPCE. Now, is this just because ARK Invest launched its space ETF, which actually had a lot of contradictions because there isn't that many space stocks in there, so they're increasing exposure into the limited amount of space stocks that are actually listed, or do they believe in Virgin Galactic's long-term mission? If you look at ARK Invest, we can see from August 2020, they've been continuously scaling into this company and currently have a record share count of 2 million shares. So if Cathie Wood and ARK Invest are bullish, then you should just go and buy. Of course, I am absolutely joking. You should not make a decision just on this alone. It's actually a very small portion of ARK Invest as a whole. So just be very, very careful if you're just buying because Kathy's buying. And I know there's a lot of people doing this strategy. The second bullish reason why you should consider buying Virgin Galactic stock is because short term, it has sold off too much in my opinion. 60% fall from a company which genuinely has a lot of potential and has stuff that flies. I think that it's sold off a lot short term. So I think if you're looking at this with a short term mentality, with a solid risk level, it could be a good short-term investment. Just on that factor alone, that it is oversold and it's way overdue a bounce. Now, number 3 on why you should consider buying this company is the VSS Imagine. If you don't know what that is, Virgin Galactic put out a press release lately with their 3rd tier spacecraft, and it looks absolutely insane. In the summer, they're aiming to start ground tests and also some gliding with this spacecraft. And I think when the positive news comes out of their success, and again, hopefully nothing goes wrong, if it is positive news, I think that news alone should see a decent pop in the stock. This stock clearly is a hype stock, and any positive news that looks groundbreaking, just for example, a spaceship gliding through the air, would probably see a lot of hype come back to Virgin Galactic and increase their share price. That said, if you do get that amount of volume, I think it would make sense for Virgin Galactic to dilute a little bit into it. And the biggest reason for me why you should consider buying, and more importantly why I am considering buying more on the dip, and yes, I do have a very small position of like $1,000 something, which is about 0.25% of my portfolio, but I am considering getting some decent exposure on this dip. And the reason is space. If you're a follower of this channel, you know I love space and sci-fi, and I do think that the space industry in the next 10-15 years will be the biggest industry, especially in stock terms, the world has ever seen. We've got minings on asteroids, we've got traveling to Mars, we've got people talking about building bases on the moons, and these companies do need to raise capital, and the days are long gone where it's only NASA doing things like this and relying on government investments. People can now get listed via SPACs or just direct listings themselves or an IPO, and they can raise capital that way, and they can literally put people in space. For me, there's many good tickers out there and many good potentials, and majority of them are not listed yet, so I think Virgin Galactic does have a lot of hype around it because it is one of the first space stocks to be listed. But if they can get people into space and start turning over that revenue, and the revenue numbers do look very, very good by the way, but once that starts happening, I think this company will do very, very well in the future. But don't take my word for it. Make sure you do your own due diligence, because this is not financial advice, of course. This is just a guy on YouTube. So do your own due diligence and let me know down in the comments if you're bullish or bearish. That's the code word for this video. Please do like if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.